Hello everyone. Today, in front of you again, is a binocular from the company. However, this is not written anywhere. Probably because the binocular was used during the war and it was produced during the Second World War. And so, just as German factories marked their binoculars in a way that made it impossible to know where they were produced, perhaps this binocular is the same. The binocular has a 5x magnification, Vinoprism MK4, and it also has the letter B. B? This is an abbreviation for the word Blume, which translates to bloom or blossom. But in this binocular, it means that the binocular has coating. I can already see it, a single layer, probably on the inside. On the lens, what is done with the prisms is still unknown to me. Maybe they also have some kind of coating. I bought it quite cheaply at an auction on eBay. It arrived in not the best condition. And when you look through it, well, it's very dirty. Of course, I don't like that it doesn't have any eye cups, no rubberized ones. I started looking online to see what they should look like. And I realized that this binocular doesn't have any eye cups. There is a special shield here. Here, take a look at the photograph. From the information available online, I found out that this binocular was used in the Air Force. Airplane pilots took it with them to help identify enemy targets. The binocular has a 5-fold magnification. Apparently, when looking from an airplane, this is sufficient. The field of view is enormous, at 170 meters. And another feature of this binocular is that it doesn't have focus adjustment. That is, the eyepieces here are fixed. They cannot be moved closer or further from the prism. So it has a fixed focus, and I looked through it, even though it's dirty, but the depth of field is simply enormous. Therefore, you can look through it at both distant and nearby objects. Probably because the binoculars were used specifically. After all, there is some excessive humidity, fluctuations in temperature, pressure changes, and so on. Therefore, in this binocular, as you can see, there are 2 such red screws. They can be called valves. That's it. The binocular is filled with nitrogen. I'm joking, of course. In those times, I don't really know how developed chemistry, physics, and the ability to blow nitrogen or fill a binocular with nitrogen were, but back then, they would simply blow the binocular with dried air. When the air is dried and there are no or almost no, well, of course there are almost no molecules of water, then condensation will not form inside. Well, now let's unscrew it. Of course, I helped myself a bit before filming the video, as it wasn't all that simple. Everything was very stuck. Here's the eyepiece, one lens and another lens. There might be some adhesive there. We unscrew 3 screws and remove the prism cover. And we have the same 2 prisms as in the ROS binoculars, but here the lens is not glued to the prism. The mounting is essentially the same as in the front binoculars, but there is one difference. The 2 prisms here are glued together. The prisms are called Poro, type 2. Light loss occurs only at the entry and exit points. And now the most difficult part. I have absolutely no idea how to remove the objective lenses. No matter how I tried to unscrew it here, nothing worked. So I decided to apply some heat. And now I've taken some photographs. Take a look. I submerged part of the binoculars, just about a centimeter, into the water. The water hadn't reached boiling yet. I don't know, maybe it was around 80 degrees. The temperature of the water, I can't say for sure. And these droplets just dripped to the bottom of the vessel Then I heated it a little. This housing with the lens, and managed to push the lens body out of the casing. Essentially, the binoculars were already completely disassembled. Honestly, I did not expect such a result. I just wanted to, I think, warm it up. Maybe there's some glue, and it can be moved or unscrewed somehow. As you saw in the photographs, the metal, or rather not metal, but an alloy, because it consists of several metals. Here's such a thing. It was made from 2 halves of binoculars. I weighed it 65 grams. It started to melt much faster than the water boiled. I searched on the internet. Some metal alloy can behave like this. However, the melting temperature is 94 degrees. Therefore, most likely it is Wood's alloy. It contains tin, lead, bismuth, and cadmium. It starts to transition to a liquid state at a temperature of 68 degrees. If it is indeed this alloy, then it also has such a feature. When heated, it decreases in volume. That is, if it is indeed this, then perhaps it was somehow laid out here in particles. When it was in a solid state, then heated while it was still liquid, adjusted, and then it solidified. And moreover, when solidifying, it probably increased in volume. These are the casings that had lenses. In them they were blackened, but it has somewhat worn off. It will need to be completely cleaned off and repainted black. Further, I don't really know how it was glued. I couldn't figure out whether it was... Well, I think there was some kind of glue here. I will probably also glue this lens. Prisms. The prisms, as you can see, are the same as in my previous video. If you haven't watched it, you can take a look. However, in that previous video, the prisms were not glued. Here they are glued. I remind you, this prism is called either a poro of the second type. The advantage of such a bonding is that this prism system has only 2 losses of light. This is when the light beam enters from the lens, and when the light beam exits towards the eyepiece. There is blackening. It's somewhat imperfect here, so I will probably, when blackening the lenses, also touch up the edges here. Since the 2 prisms are connected together here, it might be somehow easier to hold and clean these 2 prisms. Now I'm pausing the video and I will clean and polish everything. There doesn't seem to be much else to disassemble. Well, this lens, I see that I won't be able to remove it, so I will clean it from the casing. So let's continue. Some work has already been done. I have completely cleaned all the lenses. And for example, I cleaned and glued the lenses. On the prisms, it seems to me that there is some coating, well, here and there, that is at the entrance and exit. I also blackened some parts of the prisms. The lenses, take a look. From this side, right here in one spot, it didn't work out. I couldn't clean it. I don't know what it is. But overall, everything is cleaned, but the coating is almost not preserved. That is to say, remnants, such here and there, spots of coating remain. It is almost completely destroyed. And the Panam eyepieces. On the eyepieces, I don't observe any coating at all, not on a single lens. Now I will assemble all of this as much as possible. And then I will think about how to secure the lenses with the adjustment ring. Look, at the moment I have secured the lenses, or like this, with sealant in spots and adjusted them somewhat. That is, if the binoculars are not moved like this, the lenses will not shift and the binoculars do not double. Now we need to wait for the sealant to harden. It's such that I wouldn't say it becomes very hard after hardening. So, after that, we will probably need to use this alloy again. And so, let's move on. As you can see, I have already fixed it in some places. After that, I'll pull out this sealant and fill it with this alloy, everything completely. This is how I do it. It melts quite easily, meaning right away, essentially. That's it, lens. He cuts out instantly. The lens is already fully secured. And now, take a look. To be honest, I didn't even believe that. I would be able to almost restore it after everything spilled into a mess. It seems to me that, well, I won't say it's like new from the factory, but almost like from the factory. This is how it gets covered and screwed on. That's it. Now it's left to him, of course, that I'll take a little bit of it. I'll show you. And I would like to find this cover. Well, about the trunk, it's probably unrealistic to find a native trunk for it. And honestly, it's unlikely that I'll ever buy the cover. Well now, as always, let's take a look, as the binoculars show. Overall, the binoculars have a mediocre image quality. He has a little bit of trauma, and he's getting a little dirty around the edges. But overall, considering its age, you can put up with all that. The plus side of these binoculars is that they have an enormous depth of field. The glasses don't refocus here. Well, as you can see, here's the fence. At 10 meters, it's still clear. Well, you see, at a distance of 2 to 3 kilometers, the image is also clear. Honestly, I would like to refocus a little, so that the image is clearer at a longer distance. Well, it is what it is. Thank you all for watching the video and see you next time.